The website header is one of the first things people see when they land on a site. It's where they find your logo, your main navigation, and often the most important call to action. It's also one of those elements every designer needs to create at some point, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this short class. Welcome everyone, I'm Adi, and today we're designing and prototyping a responsive website header that looks great and also works beautifully on all screen sizes. We'll cover best practices, working with different layouts for multiple breakpoints, and using auto layouts so everything adapts nicely. We'll also use Figma Make to create an interactive prototype of the header. And for our call to action, I'll be using the smart reusable button from one of my previous classes. So if you want to learn how to make that from scratch, there's a link for you in the class description. You don't need advanced Figma skills for this, just a fresh file, about 15 minutes of your time, and we'll build it step by step. Of course, there's also a class project, so you can put these ideas into practice. So let's open Figma and get started. Before we start designing our own header, let's take a quick look at a few real-world examples and break down the 4 key principles that make a header both beautiful and effective. First up, clear branding. In a great header, the logo is instantly visible, usually in the top left corner. And that's not just tradition, it's what users expect, and it helps them instantly recognize the brand. Next, simple navigation. You should always keep the number of links manageable, group related items together, and make sure the text is clear and easy to read. Too many links and the header feels cluttered. Too few and visitors struggle to find what they need. The goal is a balance between the two. Then we have a strong call to action, something that stands out visually, often a button in a contrasting color. This is the element that directs people to take the next step, whether that's signing up, making a purchase, or contacting you. And finally, mobile-friendly design. A header should work seamlessly across all screen sizes. On mobile, that often means switching to a hamburger menu and adjusting spacing so the design stays clean and functional. If you keep these 4 principles in mind, so clear branding, simple navigation, a strong call to action, and mobile-friendly design, you'll be well on your way to creating headers that not only look great, but also work great. So let's take these ideas and start building our own responsive header in Figma. This is the starting file that you can download by clicking on the links in the class description, and it contains some instructions about what you need to do, some project assets. That's basically a list of components you can use. These are mostly borrowed from my previous class on creating the smart component. And I've made some small adjustments to the button component. Basically, I changed the secondary variant, and I also added 2 other variants that are basically smaller versions of the first 2. And then we have a dummy logo that we can use in our design. Also, I included some predefined layouts. We have a desktop layout that's about 1400 pixels wide, and then 2 mobile ones that are 400 pixels wide. And in the desktop version, we have the content that we need to include. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna start by replacing the logo. So I'm gonna copy this component. I'm gonna select the placeholder here and press Ctrl-Shift-R to do a replace. Or if you're on a Mac, you can use Command-Shift-R. And right away, I'm going to go to the layout section. I'm going to check lock aspect ratio, and I'm going to change the height to 48 pixels. Next up, we have these links. So because we're designing a very simple, very straightforward header, we're going to keep our typography nice and simple, very readable, and we're going to use Inter, okay? By default, these are using Inter regular 16 pixels. We're going to change things up a little bit. I'm going to use medium because I want these links to stand out a bit more, and I'm going to reduce the font size to 14 pixels and use 140% line height. Also, with these selected, I'm going to press Shift A to add them to their own auto layout frame. Let's do that again, Shift A. And I'm going to set 32 pixels as the gap between items, just like that. And I'm going to make sure everything is aligned to the middle like so. Finally, let's select the Start Free Trial placeholder. We need to replace this with a button. I'm going to be using the primary small variant of this button component. So copy that, Control-Shift-R again to replace it. And right here, I'm going to change the button label to Start Free Trial. And I'm going to use an arrow right as my icon. Now, let's take these three elements and let's press Shift A to add them to their own auto layout frame. Then in the inspector, I'm going to align everything to the middle like so. And I would like this header to span the entire available width of my parent frame. Not only that, I want it to be able to adapt its size, to change its size depending on the size of its parent. So when the parent gets smaller, the header also gets smaller. We can do that with auto layout. So I'm going to select the desktop frame and I'm going to add auto layout to it, just like this. And I'm just going to reset these defaults, the spacing, the padding. I'm going to set it all to 0. So now, with my desktop selected, I'm just going to increase its height just so we can see what's going on here. And I'm going to select my header. And I'm going to make sure that the sizing here is set to fill container. Now, let's change a couple of things here. First of all, I would like my navigation and my button to be grouped together. I'm actually going to take the button, cut it, so Control or Command X, and then select one of the elements inside the navigation and paste it in there. That's basically going to move that element inside my navigation frame that has auto layout applied to it. And that makes sure that I have the same spacing of 32 pixels between the menu and the call to action. Next, I'm going to select the space between items here, and I'm going to change this from a fixed value to auto, like that. And that's going to allow me to now resize the desktop frame, and the header will resize along with it. Let's do some final touches. Let's add some space all around the header. So I'm going to add 64 pixels padding horizontal, 20 pixels padding vertical. And let's make this a little bit more visible. So in the fill area, I'm going to add a fill color, white, and I'm also going to add a stroke. So let me show you that. Stroke, that's going to be E4, E6, E7. And I'm only going to apply this to the bottom. So that will create a nice separation between the background of our page, which is a very light gray, and the header, which is just white. Finally, select the header, and I'm going to replace the pure black that I'm using for the text and the logo with 27292A, which is a a darker gray. And that right there is our finished header design for the desktop. Now, the reason we have to make a header responsive is because not everyone browses the internet on a desktop screen that's the same size. So if people browse on a mobile device that has a smaller screen, eventually this is going to happen. Our screen is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and elements will start overlapping one another, and layouts will start to break. That's why we need to come up with a different layout for the smaller screens. Let's do that in the next lesson. Let me start by showing you one of the easiest way you can create a responsive header or responsive navigation for that matter. So we're on the cleanshot.com website, and they have a very simple header, very similar to ours, with a logo, a navigation, and then a call to action. So watch what happens when we resize this, right? The navigation and the call to action disappear, and instead we have this menu button, which if we click will basically show us the menu that had just disappeared. So we can click this to hide it, we can click to show it, and when we view this on a larger screen, we get the full experience. So that's what we need to create basically. So now going back to Figma, let's start by copying our header element and going to the mobile closed frame, which is 400 pixels wide. And this is just kind of around the area of mobile screens in terms of screen width. There are, of course, screens that are larger than this, some are even smaller than this, but 400 pixels is a good amount. So if we paste this in, you'll notice that things start to overlap. Obviously, we don't want that. So let's actually select this frame that has the navigation and the call to action, and we'll just delete it. Now, I'll go back to my buttons. I'm going to grab one of these secondary small buttons, copy, select the header, paste. That's going to paste it in. And I'm just going to change the icon here to a hamburger menu icon. And I'm going to select the label and just press delete. Also, I'm going to select this button and I'm going to set its width to 44 pixels, exactly the same as the height. And I'm going to change the alignment to middle. Next up, select the header, and I'm going to change the side or horizontal padding to 24 pixels because on mobile, we need to preserve as much space as possible. So we need to make things a little bit more compact than we would on a desktop. And I'm also going to change the vertical padding to 16 pixels, just like that. So the idea is on mobile, this element gets replaced by this button. So when we tap this button, we need to show that navigation and call to action. So let's do that in the next frame right here. So copy this, paste it in. When the button here is tapped or is clicked, we want to change the icon from the menu icon to a close icon, just like that. Because we want to tell users that, okay, you tapped on that button, action successful, and also we're going to change its contents so they know the next time they tap it, they're going to close that menu. So now let's create the actual drop-down menu, right? So we're going to copy this, we're going to paste it in, and we're going to do a couple of changes to it. First of all, we're going to change the direction to vertical. So all of the items are displayed vertically, like so. And then I'm going to add a fill color, white. I'm going to set, and let me actually move this around a little bit. I'm going to set the width to fill container. So it goes the entire width of the parent frame. And we're going to align everything to the top and middle, just like that. And finally, I'm going to add some 24 pixels horizontal padding and 32 pixels of a vertical padding, so top and a bottom. And I'm also going to copy the stroke color that I used here and add it to this element as well. And we're going to make sure that we're only applying this to the bottom of the element, like so. So this is the flow, basically. We go from desktop, where our header looks like this. When the desktop gets too small to accommodate all of these elements, we switch to the mobile view, where initially this menu is hidden, but we can access it by clicking or tapping the menu button. So that's cool and all from a design point of view. Our job is kind of finished, but we can take it one step further and actually create a working prototype of this. Let me show you how in the next lesson. Now that we've built our mobile header layout, let's make it interactive, and we'll prototype the hamburger menu so it opens and closes using Figma Make. And in case you don't know, Figma Make is a new AI-powered tool within Figma that allows users to create functional prototypes and web apps and websites from text prompts and existing Figma designs. And it's really easy to get started with Figma Make. All you got to do is click on the Figma icon here, go to File, New, and choose Make. And just like that, you are in and ready to go. The very first thing we want to do is copy and paste the Figma frames into Make so that the AI knows what to build. So we're going to go back and forth. So select the desktop, copy, and then go in here at the bottom and just paste it in. And we'll do the same for the mobile. So copy that, paste it in, and then mobile opened, copy that, paste it in. And then you got to describe your idea. What do you want the AI to do with this? So I'm going to say, create a prototype of the responsive header. And I'm just going to press enter. And that's it. I gave the command to the AI. Now it's thinking, it does some reasoning, determining what it needs to do. And soon enough, it's going to start building. So there you go. It created our header here. It added some extra content here that, we can always get rid of. But essentially what we're interested in is the functionality, right? So I'm going to open up mobile preview. And as you can see, when I resize this, when I get to about that point, it changes to the mobile view. And when we click this icon, it shows me the mobile design that I created. Click that to close, resize this back up. And if there are any changes that you want to do at some point, you can ask the AI for changes. For instance, I can tell it, switch to the mobile view sooner. Hit enter, and now it's doing the same thing all over again. It's gonna change some things in the code, and it's gonna basically do what you ask for, usually. Okay, version 2 is now complete, and when we resize, you can see the change happens a lot sooner, which is exactly what I wanted, and it's still a fully functional prototype. All right, now it's your turn. Your project is to design your own responsive website header in Figma. Or if you prefer, you can recreate the one I built in this class. For the CTA button, you can design your own or use the one I provided. If you're curious about how I created that smart button from scratch, check out my other Skillshare class. There's a link for you in the description, or you can browse my profile to see all my design classes. When you're done, please share your header design in the class project gallery. I'd love to see what you come up with. Okay, thanks for watching, happy designing, and I'll see you in the next class. Bye for now.